people of the world. My name is Crys'Dawna. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, welcome. Hit the subscribe button if you want. If you are not new here, welcome back, friends and family. Today, we are going to be making over this piece. Doesn't look like much, right? This mamma jamma is heavy, 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 heavy. So this is my client's, and we want to make it more modern, but also something that can go in their living room that is kind of neutral. So we are going to be using a product today that I have not used on a video yet. Not that I have had a chance, but we're gonna be using Wise Owl's 1 Hour Enamel on this, okay? And this is, essentially this is an all-in-one paint, but there is a way that you have to prep it in order for this to really hold up. And so I'm gonna show you guys how to in-depth properly use 1 Hour Enamel to get a really great finish. This paint is really good for cabinets and indoor, outdoor, and for something that you want to last a while. You can paint it with a high quality synthetic brush, you can roll it, you can spray it. It generally doesn't need to be diluted, but if it does need to be diluted, you only want to do it about 10% if you need to dilute it for your sprayer, but it's pretty thin. This color right here is called Renovation Gray. They do have many other colors in this line, but we're gonna do Renovation Gray. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of Cutting Edge's stencils. So my client picked out a stencil like this, it's herringbone, and so we're going to make this modern but sleek. So we're using the herringbone pattern stencil, and this is a 2-piece stencil, so I'm gonna show you exactly how to use this. And then we are going to use this hardware. This is kind of a hidden tab hardware, but it looks kind of like a gold, rose gold color, and so we are going to be using Wise Owl's Heavy Metal Metallic Gilding Paint, but we're gonna be using copper and rose gold, and there's a little bit of, I've got stain or something on there. But we're going to be mixing these two colors to match the hardware. And the reason why I am using this metallic paint is because we do not have to seal it. Now, if I were to use this 1 Hour Enamel and then do the chalk synthesis line over the 1 Hour Enamel, which you can do, I would have to seal that again. So I am trying to do this very simple to where we don't have to seal it because there's already a sealer in the 1 Hour Enamel, and then we don't have to seal our metallics. So if you guys wanna see me make over this, it may not look like much now, but you know better. If you've watched me, you know better. Let's get started. Okay, so I wanna talk to you guys a little bit about Wise Owl's 1 Hour Enamel paint. So again, this is Renovation Gray, and this is an extremely durable finish. It has a 1 hour cure time. It self-levels with a satin finish. It's abrasive proof. It's got some superior rich pigments. It's scrubbable, and it has low VOCs, which dissipate quickly. This paint is really great for kitchen, bath cabinets, interior and exterior doors, tile, trim, countertops, concrete, furniture, and more, all the things. So this is a 1 Hour Enamel. It is a fast drying acrylic enamel that you can use it on anything really, but we are going to use it on this surface, but there is a specific prep for this, so we are gonna talk about that. So the first step in your prepping is to clean. So we are gonna use the GREENEZ Strip and Clean Cleaner, and we're gonna clean our surface really well. You wanna clean it really well with a degloss or degreaser, and you wanna rinse it really, really well. The reason why you want to do this is because if there is any residue on here, it is not going to stick. So that is the first part of this, is to make sure that you clean this really, really well. The next step in your process is going to be for you to sand. You want to lightly sand over your surface with a sanding block or something like that. You don't have to get crazy. You just want to make sure that you're scuff sanding. And of course, I'll be using my 3x4 electric ray for this because it makes my life a lot easier. Once you are done sanding, you are going to want to make sure that you clean it really well with a lint-free cloth and plain water to remove any leftover cleaner or dust that may be on your piece. Before you go in with your 1 Hour Enamel, it's very important for you to make sure that you apply 2 coats of your Wise Owl stain blocking primer. This is going to be for maximum adhesion on slick and finished surfaces, which this is pretty slick. The primer needs to dry for 4 hours before you apply the next coat. So you're going to put a coat of your primer, you're gonna allow it to dry for 4 hours, and then you're going to apply your 1 hour enamel. I usually like to wait 24 hours after my last application of primer, just to make sure that it is nice, good, and set. As you can see here, I am going to be using the gray primer because this is a gray finish. It is going to help so I don't have to use as many coats. So it is really, really good for you to use a gray primer with any kind of grays, reds, blues, blacks, or purples. You want to use a white under any light colors, and then you can use a clear under any dark colors. Do not, whatever you do, if you use a different kind of primer, whatever you do not use shellac, because this is going to cause the paint to crackle. First step in this makeover was for me to remove all the hardware, and if you couldn't tell, they had some baby proofing on here, so I am going to take a flathead screwdriver and I'm going to pop those off. But that adhesion, or that adhesive, was super, super strong, so I'm going to go ahead and just spray my Goo Gone on there first to kind of loosen everything up, and then I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to take my metal paint scraper and I'm going to scrape it up. But because this the adhesive for the baby proofing was so strong, it did pull some of the wood, so we're gonna have to fix that in a little bit. But after I'm done scraping it with my paint scraper, I'm gonna put Goo Gone on those parts again, so that way we can get that adhesive off. Let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to take a utility knife, razor, and I'm going to scrape that off, and I'm gonna wipe off the excess with a paper towel. Right here you can see how that adhesive had pulled some of those areas off on those drawers and on the doors. We are going to use a 2-part wood filler to not only fill those, but fill the hardware holes, because we're going to change the hardware. So I am taking painter's tape and I'm going to put it on the back side of those hardware holes. That way we can push this 2-part wood filler into there, and then it will stop, and that way we can have a proper fill on there. I am going to take the stuff out of the tin, put some on a paper plate, use the red hardener, and we're going to fold those into each other. Again, I've said this before, you only have about 10 minutes to really work with this before it starts hardening. So I'm going to fold those into each other, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over to the hardware holes, and we're going to push that filler into those holes until they're completely full. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a little bit and you're going to go across those holes, almost like you are icing a cake, so that way it is a smooth surface. You're also going to do that with any of those divots right there. So this part right here, you see I'm going to fill the hardware holes, but this chunk was taken out, and so I had to take that 2-part wood filler and push it into the chunk and then smooth it out over it. I usually wait until it is fully dry, about an hour and a half, and once it is, I take a 120 grit sandpaper and I just smooth over that. And once you do this and you paint over it, it's going to have a smooth finish. I use the 2-part wood filler because it doesn't shrink, and then that way you won't see any of these divots. I told you how to prep when you are using the 1 hour enamel, and the first step would be to use a cleaner, a degreaser. So we're using GREENEZ, and we're going to clean the entire piece really, really well. Remember, I put some of it in a spray bottle, so we are going to just clean this piece really well with that cleaner. And then once it's dry, I'm going to take my 3x4 electric ray, and I am going to take a 120 grit, and I am going to go over this entire piece really well and scuff sand it. Once I'm done scuff sanding, I'm going to take some clean water and a clean rag, and I'm going to go over the entire piece to get the dust and any kind of residual cleaner that might be on there. So that's what we're going to do next. And then we're going to allow it to completely dry, and we are going to put 2 coats of Wise Owl's primer on there. I like to use aluminum foil as a liner, so that way I can reuse this over and over again. So that's what I'm doing right here, is creating my own liner. And then we're going to use the gray Wise Owl's stain eliminating primer, and this is also going to help so the 1 hour enamel adheres really well to this piece. So I like to mix it really well, and I'm going to take a high density foam roller, and I am going to go over the entire piece. I do not press down super hard when I do this because if you're using a high density foam roller, if you press down too much, it's going to create bubbles. So just roll over it nice and easy. Don't push down super hard. And you're going to wait, once you get this all on your piece, you're going to wait 4 hours to apply your second coat onto this piece. After 4 hours, I applied a second coat of the gray primer on the entire surface. And then I let it sit for 24 hours before I started painting it with my 1 hour enamel. I just really like for the primer to sit. I will be rolling this on. So what I did is I opened my 1 hour enamel, and this is Renovation Gray, and I mixed it really, really well. And I took a high density foam roller. So it is suggested that you use a 3/16 microfiber roller, but I didn't have one. And so I really wanted to see what would happen if I used this. I thought it was really good. It went really smooth. But again, I don't put a super amount of pressure so it doesn't create a bunch of bubbles. You do want to avoid the bubbles. This will self-level. So just don't overwork it, kind of leave it alone. But man, with the proper prep, this paint is just really, really tough, guys. It cures. It's a 1 hour enamel. It's got a 2 hour recoat time, so you want this to dry. You can wait 2 hours and recoat. But man, after a few hours, this stuff is so tough. I could not believe it. Earlier in the video, I told you guys we were going to be using different colors, but I decided on gold hardware. So it's a little bit, the heavy metals is a little bit more rich than I want, so we're going to lighten it up. We're going to use gold dust, and I'm going to add a little bit of the pearl heavy metals just to lighten it up a little bit, so that way we can match that hardware for our stencil. The stencil we're going to be using is the Herringbone Tile Stencil by Cutting Edge Stencils. We want this to be sleek and modern, and we are going to use 3M Super 77 adhesive. You're going to spray it on the back, and you're going to let it tack up. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place it where you want. And I'm going to show you a little trick. So I placed it down, I kind of eyeballed it, but I use my speed square to make sure that everything is square and even, because you do not want to start your stencil. If it is not square, you do not want it to be crooked on there. So use your speed square and make sure that everything is where it needs to be before you go in and start using this stuff on your stencil. I had a mini high density foam roller, and I'm just going to roll on the paint, and we're going to do a couple coats. So I'm going to roll on one coat, allow that to dry, and then I'm going to roll on a second coat just so that I know that it's nice and even. And then what you do is you just pull up the stencil and you wait for everything to dry, you reposition it, and you keep on stenciling. When you're using this stencil, what you're going to do is you're going to overlap the stencil that you've already put on the piece just a little bit, and that way you have it lined up, and that way you know that the part that doesn't have paint on it will continue this pattern. So hopefully that makes sense. This particular stencil comes with another smaller part that you can do the top to, and that's what I did. I overlapped it a little bit on the top, and so you can see right here, I did put the adhesive on there. I overlapped the pattern a little bit, and then I made sure that I rolled that with the paint, and it was able to continue the design. All right, everybody, so this video is done. This piece is done. I hope you enjoyed that. This is what it looks like, nice and sleek. I'm going to deliver it to my client today, but stay on here for some staged photos. And I bought this new shirt. So I took my yearly shower. Just kidding, just kidding. Where am I? And I bought this shirt and I just got it today. I wanted to share it with you guys. I'll probably wear it in a video later on, but I always tell you guys this, trust the process. Trust the process, guys. So trust the process. I'm sure that this piece didn't look like much before we started it, but now it looks really awesome. So make sure you guys are hitting the subscribe button. Remember, everything I use will be in the description below. And until next time, happy creating, and I will see you guys later. Bye.